Welcome to Fantasy Football Hub. Today I'm joined by the big man Bakar to review Gameweek 27. One of the most horrific game weeks that I can personally remember for wildcarders, and Bakar was on wildcard himself, so we're going to get his thoughts before going on to preview Gameweek 28. First of all, Bakar, how are you, mate? It's Friday today. Have you gotten over the wildcard?
I had little choice. What else could I have done? You've summed it up pretty well. It was horrific. It was a disaster that happened. I don't think the decision was bad. Even in hindsight, obviously the results were extreme. Who could have predicted that Liverpool would go on and smash Man United 7-0? Man United have been one of the form teams in terms of defense in recent times, and Liverpool have been a bit off it in recent times. But yet they did really well. We loaded up on Arsenal again. Saka, Odegaard somehow blanked against Bournemouth, despite Arsenal recording the highest number of shots ever. In this season, in a single game, which was incredible again. A lot of us picked the wrong Brentford defender, picked the wrong Brighton mid. I was one of them who got both wrong. I picked Henry over Pinnock. I have no regrets over it because Henry, I still think, is the better pick in terms of attacking threat, and had Pumo not missed a sitter, the case would have been different. Similarly, for March, I played him over Mitoma. Again, was a 50-50 decision. And on any other day, I saw the highlights. It could have gone in a different way. It was just a case, it happens. It was a chain of events, and everything turned out to be worse than previous. So it was just one disaster after the other, after the other, after the other. And, by the time Monday came along and the game was over, I was glad that it's finally over, because it was just horrific, like you say, to just go through.
Well, that's how we love playing the game. As soon as the Premier League games are finished, we just feel, oh, thank God that's over, because that was not enjoyable. That's what fantasy is all about. Anyway, Bakar, before we get into looking at your team in depth and just where it went wrong and seeing how many points you accrued last game week, first of all, a quick message from Sorare, who have partnered with Fantasy Football Hub, and are giving away some free tickets in the Premier League. At the Hub, we believe that Sorare is revolutionary, and it's the dawn of a new era for fantasy football. They are here to shake things up. Playing Sorare is very simple. You collect, buy, and sell cards, and enter them into competitions to win amazing prizes. Now, the Sorare Premier League game is completely free, and as I just mentioned, we are giving the winner of our mini league an amazing prize, a pair of Premier League tickets next season. That's pretty incredible. So get your free cards, pick your team, and compete now for free in our Fantasy Football Hub private mini league. The link to do that and sign up is in the description below and the pinned comment. In addition to your free standard cards, if you use that link, you'll also get a free limited card to enter into competitions to try and win even more cards. Best of luck, and with that being said, let's get back to Bakar. Okay, so Bakar, I've got your team up on screen. 41 points. Talk to me. We've already mentioned jumping on the wrong Brentford players, benching, as I can show here, Mitoma. Overall, though, how was it?
Really poor. The only silver lining was the fact that I captained Haaland, which was a captaincy success, because he he got himself an assist. He got yellow carded as well, but at least he got a return. And a return this week is an unknown commodity. It's a very rare commodity. So I was very happy with that. But other than that, it was a really poor week. Tony was the only one who performed, but I think had I saved the wildcard, I would have got him for Nketiah anyway. One of my main reasons to wildcard was because I had, Darwin, Salah, Trent, and I didn't really want to carry them into the Man United fixture when I sort of knew that I had to wildcard in 27 anyway, to set myself up for the weeks to come. So it was just unfortunate timing. And, I got Odegaard, he blanked as well. But let's not delve too much into it. Enough has been said, enough has been written about this game week, and it will stay long in the memory. That's for sure. But let's go forward.
Just quickly, one last point. Have you worked out exactly how many points you lost? This is a very painful question, I concede, but I know I personally have, and it is shocking how many points I would have got with the transfer that I would have made. Yeah. You said you would have got Tony in for Nketiah. Have you worked out how many points you would have got?
I haven't exactly, and I
Don't.
assume it would be somewhere between 35 to 40, but I don't want to go through the pain. Yeah.
That is
I
absolutely
assume it will be
understandable.
35 to 40. Yeah, I assume it
Yeah.
will be 35 to 40. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's forget about that game week very quickly and move straight in to game week 27. Now, the first question that I've got is Brighton players. They seem to be the most explosive. I'll pull up your team right now on screen, what you're looking for game week 27 as it stands. In terms of Brighton players, has your opinion changed at all on the best 2 or 3 midfielders to go with, or maybe the best defender as well, to be fair? Given what we've just seen in the past game week and given how swingy that seemed to be, 2 of them doing very well, March less so. What are your thoughts?
I think the defense is fairly straightforward. I think Estupinan is the best pick. I
Okay.
don't have any doubts regarding it. He's fairly attacking. He's fifth for chances created post restart among defenders, and he seems to do well for bonus as well. He's overperforming slightly, but I mean, if you were to pick one, you'd go with him over, let's say, someone like a Dunk or the keeper, because the keeper, we'll talk about that later, is in doubt.
Just quickly on, just to jump in on that. Sorry, just even with his minutes doubts coming back from the international break before the double in 29, would you still go with Estupinan over Dunk?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Because the thing is that if you're picking a defender right now from Brighton, you're picking one till the end of the season, basically, because Brighton have plenty of doubles coming up. I would assume even if Estupinan misses a game, he would still outscore Dunk because of his attacking threat and bonus potential.
There you go. Okay. So then, Brighton midfielders, what are we thinking?
Brighton midfielders, that's a tricky question. I still don't think I've seen enough from any of them to show that they're the best amongst the lot. Yes, McAllister was the one who really got a big haul this week. But again, the thing is that his points and his XGI came from a penalty, and it was skewed by a flick on from a corner where he was unmarked. So other than that, from open play, I think the others actually look better. I mean, March had a good chance to score, which he fluffed. When you look at the penalty area touches, he had 11 penalty area touches. Mitoma scored from his only shot. So I don't think 1 week of football should influence my opinion too much. I still think all 3 are excellent picks. I don't think you can go wrong. So if you have picked 2 of them, I would simply keep them and not swap them for the other.
And for those that may be wildcarding this week, who would you pick as your 2? Would you still stick with the 2 that you picked, March and Mitoma? Or still, it's a kind of a 50-50 decision.
If I was wildcarding, I would probably go with McAllister and March, because I generally tend to go by stats, and those 2 have the best stats. I mean, since McAllister's been playing in the number 10 role, he's had 7 big chance involvements. March has had 6. Matoma's had 1. But the thing with Mitoma is that he's historically an XG overperformer, and he tends to convert his chances. I mean, he has a conversion rate of nearly 30% this season, which is incredible. So he has been overperforming, but that's what he does historically. He's just a very good finisher. So, I mean, I don't think there's any bad pick in the 3 of them. But yeah, if I was picking 2, it would probably be them.
Okay, let's move on to captaincy, because for one of the first, to be fair, it was very close last week, but this week, because it's a double, it feels like it's probably the most important decision in every team. Right now, I mean, I've got it on Tony. That's just what the hub has put it on, the My Team tool, because he has the most predicted points out of all your players. But what are you thinking? What are your thoughts for captaincy this week?
I mean, long story short, my heart says a Brighton mid, but my head says Tony. Right? I am very certain that one of the Brighton midfielders will outscore Tony this week. But the problem is, I don't know which one will.
Yeah.
When you look at Brighton's attacking numbers in terms of minutes per XG, they're only second to Man City post restart, and they're consistently averaging over 2.1, 2.2 XG per game, which is incredible. Even this week against West Ham, they had an XG of 3.7, and West Ham are one of the better defensive teams this season. When you look at their underlying statistics over the course of the season and post restart, they're slightly outside the top 5 in terms of defensive statistics, and Brighton absolutely demolish them. I mean, Brighton just seemed that kind of a team who are very good. They're just an elite team at creating chances. And, if they don't pull off a Brighton, which they usually do from time to time, they'll end up blitzing everyone in the league, most teams in the league at least. So I really rate them from an attacking point of view. But now the problem is that I am, as I've said, I just don't think there's anything to separate the midfielders. And when you look at their goal involvements percentages, Mitoma is 29%, March is 23%, McAllister is 19% goal involvement this season. Now that to me tells me that it's pretty much a roll of the dice, and there's no clear talisman to go for. While in Brentford, Tony's expected goal involvement is over 50. It's 51%. So when Brentford score, it's highly likely to be Tony. I was looking at the odds. Brighton are predicted to score more goals across both fixtures, but it's just that the goal involvement percentage is where Tony edges it, and that's what makes him slightly more of a sensible pick. But I'm still not 100% sure as to who I would captain, because I do see genuine upside in going for a Brighton midfielder. And if someone is chasing rank, I think you can roll the dice this week, because there is some logic to doing that. But again, you just know what you're getting with Tony, right? That's the thing. And the fixtures are good as well. I mean, for Brentford, Southampton, Everton, I've been noticing have conceded plenty of big chances to strikers in recent times. So you look at Iheanacho last week versus Southampton, and Watkins preceding that. Watkins had 3 big chances against Everton as well. So yeah, I mean, Tony's a safe choice, and he will probably deliver this week. I would think he would.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. At what kind of rank would you need to chase and go with something a little bit different, maybe a Brighton midfielder? But I guess you've kind of summed it up there. If you want to chase upside, then the Brighton midfielder is the play. There's obviously more risk there as the points are spread. But yeah, it depends on how you are as a fantasy manager, really. I know for me, Tony is just the safe bet, and that's kind of how I tend to pick my captains. So that's probably who I'm going to lean to.
I mean, I won't be surprised if Brighton scored, like, let's say 5 goals across those 2 fixtures, while Brentford scored 2 to 3. But even then, there's a possibility, because of just the goal involvement percentage of Tony actually, outscoring them. And another thing is, why this conversation is more trickier is the fact that a lot of us have been burned by the Brighton midfielder roulette last week, right?
Yes.
I have got it wrong. So many other people have got it wrong as well, and they don't want to be burned by it again. And when you captain a Brighton mid, obviously it will double the effect of the variance, and it will increase the stakes, which is something I see not a lot of people are comfortable with, and rightly so. I mean, I understand.
I guess the question is, would you rather have 2 Tonys in your team or 2 Mitomas? What's more fun, or what's more safe? What's going to get you more points? We don't really know. But
points are fun.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true. You can have as much fun as you want, but if you've got a red arrow, how much fun are you really having? That's my question every week. Okay, then, moving on to a discussion about the bench boost now, because people that played their wildcard in 26, I think the majority, it seemed anyway, I know you did, played it to set up in part for the bench boost in Gameweek 29. Now, are you still on the 29 bench boost? Any thoughts towards bench boosting this week?
I gave it a brief thought, but I mean, overall, I still like my squad for 29 more, because when you compare the 2 benches, even though Brentford's fixtures are tough in 29, I'd still expect Raya to get plenty of saves. And you compare him to someone like Kepa this week, I'd expect Leicester to score, because Maddison is back, and with Maddison, even they should have scored 2 or 3 goals against Southampton as well, but they missed plenty of chances. I do think at home they will score. Similarly, Odegaard now is a bit of a doubt, and I think that should put to rest anyone who was considering to bench boost and owns Odegaard. I own Odegaard, so that's a bit of a consideration for me as well. Similarly, a lot of us have Newcastle defenders. Newcastle again have a double in 29, and I mean, a lot of us, this whole conversation is based on the premise, that Arsenal mids are obviously very uncomfortable to bench, which is fine. But again, in 29, there's Saka, who has Leeds at home. There's Kane, who has Everton. So, I still think that I would marginally prefer, it's a 60-40 call, and maybe I would marginally prefer bench boosting in game week 29, simply because I like having the extra security of double game weekers. Yeah,
completely agree with that. Anything in the weather that could influence your decisions this week as well, in terms of Brighton players and maybe not risking the captaincy on them or the bench boost just in case? I mean, they would still probably play
Obviously, I mean,
their Palace game, but
it's worth keeping an eye on that because if
Brentford.
we sort of get any news, let's say before deadline tomorrow, regarding any one of their games, then it will affect not only the captaincy, but a lot of us will end up playing the Arsenal players over them, even, right? So
Yeah.
again, it's one which is worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I guess. And the game is on Saturday as well. So, in theory, if it were to be cancelled, we should probably know about it beforehand. Now, one more question that is a little bit more macro. People that didn't wildcard last week, we did talk about the merits of not wildcarding or going for it. And yeah, a lot of people didn't. Fair play to them. They probably did pretty well and banked a lot of points. Should they now continue on being a Maverick and not wildcarding? Or do you think it's better to bank those points that they made last week, as we said, 35, 40, even more? And now, because this is the week where the Brighton players and the Brentford players double, jump and just take those points and say, okay, fine, I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to wildcard and join in with the rest of the wildcarders.
It's actually a very interesting question. I think that if you still have the wild card, this week you can potentially end up saving it because a lot of us, not me, but a lot of people who do have the wild card have 2 or 3 Liverpool, and they have Trent, Salah, Darwin. And in that case, I mean, they could even end up outscoring a lot of the double game weekers this week. In that case, I mean, if someone has Liverpool players and has a wild card, in that case, I would not recommend a wild card because, I would just get, let's say, Tony and probably 2 of the Brighton ones, even if it's for, let's say, 2 hits, I would do that, right?
Yeah.
Because I think saving the wild card later could be more beneficial in that case. But let's say if the team is not very well set up, and if you're not loaded up on Liverpool, then I think it makes a lot more sense to wildcard because then you can jump on a lot of players. There's Chilwell, who I really like. He played wing back against Leeds and accumulated the highest number of penalty area touches and 37 final third touches, which was very impressive. Similarly, there's Salah you can go for against Bournemouth. There's Fernandes you can get for Southampton at home and also for the upcoming double. You can potentially even sell Haaland, which is questionable, but I think it makes sense because if you go for someone like a Watkins, who has Bournemouth next week and then 2 doubles later, it sets you well up. Similarly, Kane you can buy. So I do see plenty of merits to wildcarding this week if someone is not loaded up on Liverpool. And let's say the other window for wildcarding, I reckon, is in 29. But the problem with that is that even though it sets you up for the long run, it sets you up with Brighton players and Man United players and Newcastle players. The problem that then is that you can't bench boost in 29.
Yeah.
I don't particularly like a Game Week 28 wildcard because if you're wildcarding in 28, you're loading up on Arsenal, and I don't think that is the play because Arsenal have. Yes, they have a good fixture at home versus Leeds in 29, but after that, their fixtures turn, and I would not want to have triple Arsenal on a wildcard right now.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Now, final question is about goalkeepers and Sanchez in particular. Obviously, we saw he was officially dropped by the manager for their previous game, and Steele came in and kept a clean sheet. What would you do now if you own Sanchez and you were looking to bench boost, so therefore you kind of needed him to play? And would he be anywhere near a wildcard now?
I would not go with any Brighton keeper on a wildcard because they don't make saves. They're second best for shots on target conceded this season. And I simply think the optimal 3 does not include a goalkeeper. I would probably go with 2 mids and a defender, as we've discussed earlier.
Yeah.
However, if I was on a bench boost, I think Steele's spot is safe for at least the next 2 games. He's kept a clean sheet. De Zerbi did say that he's playing better than Sanchez. So I think his spot should be safe for the next 2 weeks. And the good thing about him is that if you're already set for a BB in 27, you can get a Steele this week. And he's cheap. He's very cheap. So you can use those funds later on as well. However, if someone is not set up for a bench boost, then I would not go with Steele, because I think there's a risk of Sanchez coming back in the upcoming game weeks. And keeping in mind that Brighton have plenty of doubles in the weeks to come, I would make sure that I'm in a position where I can get the best three. Hence, I would not get Steele in that position. I would get either, let's say, Pope or De Gea, or even Kepa if you need the funds going forward.
Yeah, I think your point on the fact that Brighton do have the most games to play out of any team is kind of, you're saying, just get the best three Brighton in now for the entire season, because they're going to stay there, and you might as well just get them in, right? Which makes complete sense to me, and the same is with the keepers, as you said. Okay, so that is going to do it for the preview for Game Week 27, guys. Hopefully, this is the week where, well, for Bakar and me, that the wild card comes into play, because we have six doublers. Hopefully, they get some points. Although, knowing Liverpool, they'll probably just batter Bournemouth 12-0 now, and it will all be for nothing anyway. But that's part of the game. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you did enjoy this one and got some good insight from Bakar, as always, to influence your decision-making for 27. Once again, a big thank you to Sorare for sponsoring this video. The link to go and check that out and potentially win those tickets is down in the description and in the pinned comment. Guys, that's going to do it for this one. We'll see you on the next one. Good luck this game week.